Hey guys, it's Merrick. I've got another gameplay commentary for you here today. This one is yet again on Planetside 2, but we are on VS through the NSO, playing with the NS15. The NS15 is a very accurate LMG. It's got a slightly lower RPM, but that also lends to it having slightly lower recoil. It's one of the only guns that goes up left instead of up right, and it has a .75 modifier for your moving when aiming down sights, as opposed to the normal .5. So you slide out from behind cover a little faster, even if you aimed ES a little early. I'm running the LAV-LA, which for some reason is not the NSO generic launcher. They have the dumbfire launcher, but this is actually equivalent to every other faction's generic basic starting launcher, which is just dumbfire on ground and locks air. For some reason on NSO, they never made the switch to that, so I had to buy this one rather than actually starting with it. And the other standout in this loadout is that I am running heavyweight. I don't actually remember how important it comes out to be for this session, but I do remember earlier in my warm-up sessions or other attempts at recording that there were just so many vehicles spamming AoE things that I was going to have an aneurysm. I believe that's everything standing out here that we need to mention for the loadout, so let's get into the gameplay. I'm starting this off at the Biolab, where I try to push up and fight in the choke and instantly get quad dinked to start off the session. From there, I decide to run to the other choke point, because I see some people trickling in that way. I look the wrong way as somebody comes around this corner. Thankfully, he's preoccupied with my teammate. I manage to do absolutely no damage to him, and as I finally get up to this choke point, I immediately get shot at by a vehicle. I loop around and take up on the tree over on this side, and I wait for somebody to cross. It doesn't take long before I see somebody, but despite having warmed up before this, I forget how to use my hands, and both of them get away from me. After a brief short circuit, I see one coming around the corner there. I manage to hit like 3 headshots and not get the finishing blow on him, but then I land a single bullet on the guy next to him, and I do pick that one up. Determined to figure out how the fuck to use these hands, I go to push up to try to take some aggressive fights, only to realize that the whole reason I wasn't pushing up before was because there was a Galaxy there with a grenade launcher. I loop back around, try to pick some people off on the corners, see a bunch of guys push up and probably kill that Galaxy because it disappears from the minimap. I try to annoy this Max, try to pre-fire it, and when it doesn't peek into us, we eventually just push up and back out onto the platform. However, I only managed to pick up one here before the fight abruptly ends, so we're going to move on to the next fight. One of the only available spawns we have at a seemingly even fight is at a player base at the foot of the ascent. So, I bite the bullet and I show up there, and as I'm running up the hill, I see a light assault blowing up some sunders, and I do manage to take him out. I keep pushing up, and I get to the bottom of the tunnel here, and it seems like the type of meat grinder that even the Imperium of Man would hesitate to send the guard into. Thankfully, I am not a man, I am a bot, so I try my luck. I manage to hit a whole lot of nothing before catching a nade that I never saw. I take a res unadvisably, and then I re-peek, determined to get at least one kill out of this, and I do manage to get a hit. However, there's a random infiltrator that just walks up behind me and kills a bunch of people because nobody's paying attention in this fucking chaos. So, having checked off the box that I can say I at least tried, we immediately head somewhere else, and that takes us to Split Peak Pass. I take the jump pad and push towards point, and I am fortunate enough to be able to catch 2 people off guard as they land. One of them just runs the wrong way out of a drop pod, and I get to flank on him. The other one is a light assault who just is looking the wrong way as he jetpacks around. From there, I push towards the only contested point, which is point C. I catch some guy outside, and as I go to breach into the building, I happen to see a dot on the minimap behind me, and I flip around just in time to see the guy get rezzed. I take both of them out, but somebody does push through the hallway behind me, and I just can't look at both places at once. Respawning, I see that point A is contested, so I head that way. As I'm heading up the hill, I immediately see somebody at the top. I'm able to take him out, and then I try to swing a little narrowly on the doorway. Seems like the place is completely empty though, so I just keep wide swinging. I do catch the guy in there, and it seems like the point is actually already empty. So after that, I immediately head back to the Biolab. And once there, I do what I do best. I shift W towards the enemy dots on the minimap. I'm able to combo peek some dude as I get to the top of the stairs, and then I check every corner as I see somebody on the minimap until I eventually find someone else. I try to keep pushing up, hoping for more, but apparently only a few guys got through the blockade up top here, and there's nobody else, so we're just gonna move ahead to the next point. one of the only decent-looking fights that I can seem to find happens to be at Makala, so I head there, and promptly after leaving the Sunderer, I get air to grounded. Running it back, I do make it to the point this time, although I fail my parkour. I'm able to pick off someone over the balcony as they are shooting at somebody else, but I go a little too fast up the stairs. I don't immediately fall over for it, but I could have gone a little slower. I catch up with a good flank on this max, but I whiff my anti-vehicle nade, so I YOLO trying to get the rocket up to follow it, forgetting I don't have a decimator and just basically uninstalling myself. I'm able to catch a guy in the roof as I run back, but then I get back onto point and try to take up a defensive position. And after it takes more than 5 seconds for somebody to push onto point, I start rotating around and chasing dots on the minimap. I peek out of the side as somebody's running in through the teleporter spawn, and I manage to pick him off. As I'm running back inside, it seems like there might have been a small push on this side as I catch somebody who was respawning from there. I do get to clean up on him, and as I'm continuing to rotate around, I just get caught off guard by somebody who takes me out pretty quickly, and I realize that there's not a whole lot of people at this fight, so I head somewhere else. Moving over to Heoka Chemical, it seems significantly more populated, as before I even get anywhere near the point, I'm already getting shot at. I return fire and try to get into a better position, only to have somebody pull up right next to me where I'm not expecting, and I die for free. Running back, they're already trying to push across the bridge, so I just take up position and try to thin them out, doing what I can to keep cover and not take super extended engagements against this many people. I do a good job of clearing the bridge, but forget that I am thick, and I have my shoulder hanging out, so they pretty much see actually half of my body, and I die for free, when I really didn't need to. Getting back to the bridge, they're still holding, so I continue doing what I can to clear them out. We are able to liberate the bridge, and I immediately start heading back to push towards point. As I roll back up towards the building, I don't even make it inside before I see some people moving around. I catch one off guard completely, get up onto the staircase here where I have a slight height advantage, and I catch 2 more out of position. I am able to trade them, and I don't see the third guy who winds up trading me out, but we immediately start running back. This time, though, as I'm heading across the bridge, there is a very interesting and ambitious harasser that does their best, but they got stuck on the wall, so we were able to throw a whole lot of damage in there and eventually get the takeout. Then there's a small miracle as I get hit directly on by a flash and don't die. But it seems like there's still a ton of red here as we are pushed back to the bridge and basically contained here and unable to push out. I start trying to do what I can. I take a bunch of damage from some vehicles and then get finished off by a dude on the rocks. And as I respawn, I try to get rid of some of the air pressure, only to see more vehicles rolling around. And as I'm trying to deal with that, there's just a massive push coming across the bridge. I wasn't really ready for it, and even when I die here, it only seems like there's 1 or 2 people. So when I get back up, I swing kind of wide, have to deal with this guy in the tree, but I kind of underestimate the exact nature of the fight that I'm in, and only after another few deaths do I realize that there's a shit ton of people across the bridge already, and that I probably should take a slightly more reserved position. However, before that can materialize in the gameplay, they pull a bunch of lightnings and murder the Sunderer, but we have a router, so I push up to the forwards building from that router and try to secure it as best I can. I manage to catch one guy looking the wrong way, then as I'm waiting at this doorway I see some shots coming from the other door. I react to that and manage to get another pick off. I take a minute to reset, and then as I come back into the building from the other side, there's actually a handful of people inside already, and I get taken out as they push up the stairs. As I'm running back from that, I see a visual distortion, which tells me there's an infiltrator vibing here. I take him out, and then as I go to push across the bridge, there's already a bunch of angry red guys up there, so I just sit back and try to thin them out and deny them from being able to cross the bridge. As we clear the initial portion of the bridge, I try to push up to get a better angle, but I see a Max just YOLOing down the line, so I get my decimator out, which is actually the LAVLA and not a decimator, but regardless, it does manage to sort out the Max, and I get back to trying to sort out these red guys that are slowly advancing back down the bridge yet again. We manage to survive this wave as there's a slight lull in pressure. I take a moment to back up and reload, not actually realizing yet how few bullets I have. An OS gets called, so I jump back inside, where I am able to find ammo from an engineer. And as I go to push back up to the bridge, I get murdered by a light assault from the side. I do manage to get res, and I try to jump back inside because I know there's going to be a lot of pressure. And I do the only thing that I really can do, which is try to defend this bridge. I'm trying to keep a tight angle to minimize the amount that I'm going to get shot while maximizing how far I can see down this bridge. And after clearing out a few and not seeing any more for a little bit, I decide to jump to the other doorway and check the other angle. I manage to find one on the bridge and see somebody pushing in, and as I kill this guy and have to fall back, I check the minimap and realize I'm absolutely fucked as a massive red flank is coming in, and I just try to do all that I can. We were ejected from the compound, but there is another Sunderer outside, so the fight is not over. I wind up jumping out to there, try to shoot some air that I see flying over, just because I want to annoy it since it's annoying me. I do get in a single annoyance point, then as I go to try to clear up the bridge, I didn't realize how close they were on the push, and I just run straight into them. So as soon as I respawn after that, I'm on the back foot and trying to take a defensive position and just sort out anything that I can. There's nades everywhere, shit's hectic as hell. I do manage to get killed by a light assault that I never saw, but I'm able to eventually get a decent position, start cutting the corner around this fucking Sunderer, and slowly working my way through some of these people that are pushing. Despite how hectic it was, it does seem that we were able to, as a group, dissipate the pressure and slowly stall out this push until they ran out of people. Because they didn't have a close spawn, we do have time to start pushing yet again. As I'm walking across the bridge, I see an infiltrator, and I have to show him my thoughts about infiltrator, and then we get back to trying to push into the compound. I take the slight high ground that the staircase affords me, and I do get a side angle on some of these guys trying to wrap into the bottom of skinny staircase. I get a few of them before I manage to overextend because I walked way out of cover and die to a tank, but I've got to start wrapping this session up, and I'm barely able to bring it back to a 3KD, where I wind up with 60 kills and 20 deaths in 30 minutes. I think a lot of my problem in this session was fighting into the main ball of fights, rather than trying to go for off angles or flanking around the outsides. I also was not exactly hitting all the shots I normally do, and I think that my defensive movement was absolutely lacking. Basically, this was not exactly the greatest showing, but we still managed to pull it out. I could also cite fight selection as something that needed to be improved here, but I don't think there was exactly a lot of fights to choose from, so we just had to make the best of what we got. But that happens sometimes, so it's not exactly something that I can complain about. I also don't know exactly how useful heavyweight was. Like I said, the session before this and the attempts at getting a session recorded before this, it was absolutely necessary as there was a lot of vehicles spamming things, but there was kind of a limited amount of them actually for the duration of this session, so potentially Survivalist or Sentry Shield would have also helped me out here instead. There's probably more that I could talk about, and more mistakes that I could highlight that you'd probably recognize if you watched some of my other videos, but as always, let me know what you do like, let me know what you don't like, let me know what you think so I can improve my videos moving forwards. Thank you guys for your continued support, and I'll see you guys next time.